Welcome to Buzz for Writers. This is everything you need to know to build your own PR machine, which all of you are tremendous and fantastic and full of gumption and verve and attitude and voice, and you all have something to say. And so this is coming to you from me, Allison Lane, and from the creative nonfiction community. So here we go. So this workshop is for you if you are published, if you are an emerging writer, means you're on your way and you're not quite published, if you're a professional, if you're not a professional, if you're pitching for the first time, if you have a full-time job but you write on the side, if you write a ton but haven't placed something, if you're a full-time caretaker and you write too, if you have a business that's related to your writing, if you have a business that's not related, like literally, if you put pen to paper, you're a writer, this is for you. And about me, I'm Allison Lane Literary. I'm an editor, I'm a book coach, I am a marketer for authors, and of course, a writer and a ghostwriter, and the founder and host of Creative Nonfiction Community, along with Ann Putnam, who is not here tonight. She sends all of her hugs and kisses and love, and Francesca Donlan, who is very busy bringing people back to Florida. She runs tourism communications for Sanibel Island, and it is a busy time. So you are all here because of the Creative Nonfiction Community, which was born a year ago, and we're now pushing 600 writers. A little bit more about me. I formerly, for 25 years, ran PR and communications and marketing communications for tons of brands that you know and love. And my special gift is creating story to connect people and finding the angles that get publicity, that get noticed. And that's what we're all doing now. But now what I do is I left corporate America right before COVID, like a week before COVID. And now I devote all my time to providing marketing for authors, whether it's book proposals, queries, finding a marketing hook, promoting your book, promoting your business, whatever it is, that's where I am. So coming soon from me is how to craft a book proposal that sells. That's a 6-week workshop, and that'll start in 2022. Can you imagine 2022? I can't even believe it. Also, make sure that you're joining us for the Creative Nonfiction Community. It's free. You can join it. You can invite anyone. We are there to crowdsource solutions for whatever is plaguing you in your writerly journey. So our logo, our slogan is ask for what you need and share what you know. And only then can we all get better together. Connect with me in all the places, Allison Lane Literary, and let's get started. So there are 3 steps to getting buzz. One is creating your content. And then next is crafting a compelling pitch, which you absolutely need to be able to do. And then connecting with the yes that is already out there waiting for you. What that means is that you have to drive the boat. You have to be your best marketer. If you can't do that, no one's going to do it for you. They're not going to put 2 and 2 together when you say like, well, I really like to help people. No, you have to go big and go home. So the big mistakes that I see are in our group and mostly with women, unfortunately, but is that people are waiting for permission. They think that there's some sort of threshold they have to reach before they can pitch, fill in the blank, pitch the New York Times, pitch the Washington Post, reach out to a particular author for a blurb, or their book needs to have some sort of accolade before they can call around and book signings and events. And it's simply not true. Waiting for permission, no one's going to come and knock on your door and ask you, like, well, we'd love to have you. We know you're sitting here under a rock waiting for us to find you. No, they don't. So just stand up and we've got to move forward. And also thinking small. In marketing, we always think of big, audacious goals. So if you're not going to think big, if you're not going to reach for that stretch goal, you're never going to get it. And if you see other people getting that thing, whatever it is, that accolade or that event or that keynote spot, and you think, I could have done that. Well, that's because they went big and you didn't put it on your list. And the third mistake is skipping the easy stuff and then doing dumb stuff, especially paying for dumb stuff, when everyone needs to be efficient with what they're doing. There's a time you can do on your own, all the time. I'm just going to check the chat and make sure that I'm not missing anybody chit-chatting. Of course, this is when the chat disappears. Oh, here it is. Chat. Okay, good. Okay, setting that aside. So, moving forward. So, what you need to do right now is say to yourself, I'm a big deal. You are all big effing deals. So say it out loud, say it, whisper it to yourself, look in the mirror in the morning and say to yourself, Allison, you are a big effing deal. But, you know, talk to yourself in third person. This is really the only time when I want to encourage you to do that because it's weird. But there's something about hearing your name and saying it that makes it true for you. And then you've got to see a big plan, which means creating a big plan. And the third thing is doing the right prep, assembling all the pieces, all the best stuff that represents who you are. So here's the thing. You are a big effing deal. Do you think Beyonce waited for someone to tell her? No, she was like 14 and, you know, they dubbed her like the next big thing and she stepped into it. She knew she needed to own it from the get-go. And of course she does because she's the queen. But no one else is going to give you this. They're not going to come up to you and say, you're a big effing, I mean, you can call me, you can book time with me. I will tell you what a big deal you are. But if you don't ask and step in, ask for what the accolades that you deserve and where you want to go, you're not going to get them at all. Narayani asks, what is dumb stuff? We will get to that. We will get to that. Patience. So here's the thing. When you see a big plan, the big plan always has a next step. When you're a marketer, you're always thinking of your audience's next step. Then what? So you pitch media and you pitch an article to a media outlet. Say you pitch to the Huffington Post and they say yes. Then what? Do you have a plan? What are you going to do with that? You know what they're going to ask for? Can you send a headshot and your bio? And you don't have that ready? Then what? You have to anticipate all the things. Then it gets placed. Then what? What are you going to do? Do you have a plan for leveraging and merchandising the Huffington Post piece that you just worked so hard to get? And then what? What can that multiply into? Also, the then what in the big plan is engaging in dialogue, not just, oh, I did this, but hey, I did this thing and I wrote this piece and it's driving dialogue about this effort. Well, great, or this issue. Then what happens? Where can you go with that? And that those might be events or speaking engagements, they might be endorsements, they might be pairings, they might be panels, They might be moderating a forum about a topic, but then what? And so when you plan that and you put the things on your list of, I know what I'm going to do, it also makes it very easy to know what you're not going to do. So when I say assemble your best, you want to prep your assets. Your assets are all the things you absolutely know that you're going to need. And don't worry, I'm going to tell you what that list is. You want to anticipate the needs of that pop up at each step, the needs of each audience. So for instance, when someone sees the piece that you published in the Huffington Post, they're going to want to contact you. Do you have a website? Do you have an email that welcomes them to your website, that drives them to what's next? What if they want to connect with you? Then you're going to want to give them, that option to take that next step and then merchandise that. What do they get now? I'm going to show you some examples in a few minutes, and you're going to go, oh, and from some people who are on this call right now, that they're just doing the right thing. And I'm also going to give them and you my suggestions for what else they could be doing to prepare for those next steps. So here we go. So what are your assets? You need sticky bios. Not one bio, but a bio that's sticky is something worth reading. A bio comes in many forms, but there are about at least five forms of the bio that you're going to need. That's a different conversation. That's a different webinar. I touched the surface of that a few months back in this group in a webinar that is available on the Facebook group. But for now, you need a sticky bio, a bio that draws someone in. That's what sticky is. Not just, oh, Allison's a writer who lives outside of Boston, but something that draws me in or draws a reader in and invites them to engage. You also need to assemble your images. You want some headshots and a selection of them. I would say start with 3. You want a medium that's, the armpit, well, really it's like nipples up, like around this way. And then a headshot collarbone right here. And then it's nice to have a black and white version as well. We don't need to see your full body unless you are a bikini model. And if that's true for you, congrats. But otherwise, we don't, or unless there's some other reason that we need to see head to toe. Photos are usually used on, digitally on like little tiny, or in speaker profiles. So nobody needs to see your knees, again, unless you're a knee model. But that's, entirely up to you. Also, we want to know your assets need to include a list of your street cred. Where have you been and what do you do? We want to know, you can incorporate that into your bio, but oftentimes that reads like just a long list in a paragraph, and it's so much nicer to have that in a separate page, whether it's a testimonials or places you've taught or media or event coverage or podcast, guest interviewees that you've been on. Whatever that is, we want that to be easy and scannable. Nobody wants to read a narrative that is essentially a list of 15 or 30 things. It's boring and it's hard to read. Also, put those in reverse chronology order because it's like you want to put the most recent thing at the top because it's the most important. It's the whole what have you done lately is the most important. We also want your assets to include the things that you talk about. Well, why would I want to, engage with you at an event or in the media or an appearance or book you for a speaking gig? well, if you have not defined that, no one else is going to define it for you. Maybe it's recovering from heartbreak. Maybe it's finding your true calling. Maybe it's managing your ADHD after 50. That would be me. I'm managing my ADHD after 50. I don't want to talk about, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I have a client who is, and she could talk about it all day from all different areas. But you've got to know what your key topics are and what the questions are that you want to be asked or that you can address in any forum. Also, you want a website, of course, and how to reach you. You need one social profile that you're going to make your own. You can be on all social. You could be a TikToker. You could be on Twitch. It doesn't matter. Just find something that is where you engage with your audience. And of course, have in your back pocket a free Canva. It's canva.com, a free Canva membership so that you can use their templates. And I'm going to show you some templates that you could be using and just have in the back drawer so you can make things easy. If you're not making things easy for yourself, it's because you have not prepared this list of assets, which I'm telling you every one of you needs. Whether you've been published once or whether you have 40 books, you need these assets available all the time, okay? Now, this is planning like a publicist. Planning like a publicist means that you have a 3-month strategy, that you know where you're going to put your energy and you know how one element leads to the next element. So if you're pitching the New York Times on a personal essay piece, or I really like to go with the Washington Post lately because it's newer and you could pitch the Lily, which is all about women's issues. Once that hits, what then? How are you going to merchandise that? And you think like, oh, well, if that gets placed, that'll be January, but by June, people will have forgotten that. I'm going to give you an example tonight of how that's not true and that you can milk everything you do so long as it's a credible media outlet or a credible appearance or event for years, because people find things that live in the digital ecosystem. So you definitely want to have a plan where you capture all of those elements and then you do something with them. Also, you've got to know that pitches breed yeses. The more you pitch, the more your yes count is going to come up. You might start pitching media, 5 pitches at a time, and you place 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20. When my co-founder for the creative nonfiction community last March, she wrote a pitch a day. And in the first week, she landed 0. And then the second week, she landed 1. And by the end of the week, she was really cranking out the pitches in 15 minutes or less. She said that at the beginning, it took her like an hour or 2 to really work on it, but she really got the hang of it. And then we worked together to develop some of her storylines. And she has been pitching and placing like a boss since then and really merchandising those pieces, which are helping to build her writerly platform, which goes into her book proposal. So everything that you do begets the next thing. Third thing here, thinking like a publicist, you want to define what stories you can tell. Those stories are not angles. If you define 3 stories you can tell, each of those stories can beget 15 angles. There are 15 angles at least for every story. Some of you might remember I've shared my list of, playfully 15 angles for every story. But just a few right now. how to do something, how not to do something, my personal story of how I did something, what you should know about something. And I could go on and on. Every one of those angles you can pull from any magazine, at the CVS or the Walgreens. Pick up one and you'll go, oh my gosh, they're all right there. Yes. And then you want to merchandise all of it and then leverage it for the next thing. And then pause, adjust, and repeat. Let me pause right a second. Mona says, in my novel, my two characters are going through a stack of papers and files. I'm taking notes for ideas of what they will find. Ooh. Julie asks, all different pitches, ever the same pitch at the same time? Yes. Yes. The pitches, you could send the same pitch to 5 places. It could be the same bookstore you want to have a signing in. It could be the same, you want to teach a course at an upcoming conference that's related to your work. You could put the same pitch to 5 conferences. The rule is whoever says yes first gets the yes, because that's fair, right? And then all you do is withdraw from the others. But here's the thing, you could do a similar pitch for a speaking engagement, for an event, for an article or an essay, similar, but catered to that audience. And that automatically makes it different. The same pitch for this Carmex lip balm to Women's World is different than to Oprah. It is the same product, right? It's the same story of it keeps your lips from getting chapped, but the angle is going to be different. You can even send the same angle, but the audience is looking for different things. And we're going to get to that in a second. And then, yes, leverage and repeat. Judy asks, can you define angle? Meaning, how is an angle different than a pitch? A pitch is customized to a media outlet. So let me go forward a second. So let's think about an editor. Judy, I'm going to get to your question in a sec. Thinking like an editor for any women's magazine is protecting their audience. They are an advocate for their audience. So when I go and pitch Carmex, even though I led PR for Burt's Bees, I don't have one handy. I do have multiple lip balms. I don't know. It's a thing. So if I'm pitching Carmex, I'm not pitching the product. No one is interested in being pitched something that is about a sale, right? An angle might be health benefits. A story might be health benefits of things that of small pocket-sized things. That's a story. But the angle might be how to travel light while you fly for the holidays. And then the pitch might be different for Real Simple versus Glamour. Glamour does Best of Beauty Awards every year. And every year, you know what mascara wins? The regular pink and green Maybelline mascara. Because it's a staple, right? And they test it and they have all this methodology, but essentially, if you want to know what mascara is the best, it's just the pink and green Maybelline mascara. But that mascara gets in all 40 women's magazines every single year. And it's just something different. The angle for men's fitness might be things you have to have on hand for your girlfriend or for your boyfriend, for your love interest. You always want to have mascara handy. Here you go. Or things you'll find in your, lover's one drawer. But that's different for better homes, right? So the pitch is super customized. There will be pieces of it that are the same, but the individual pitch you definitely want to have customized for the audience. And in this case, the audience is the editor, and they have to know that you're a friend to them, that you have the same thing in mind, the same priority as they do, advocating for their reader or their audience or their viewership. You also have to speak in their tone, a tone for the Cosmo is going to be on the racier side. The tone for Better Homes and Gardens is definitely not going to be there. And I always think, what do they need? What does the audience, the end user of the information, need to know, think, or do? This is true for media. This is true for personal essays. This is true for speaking engagements. You want to give freely and not be saying, and buy our Carmex. It's all about helping, right? Otherwise, that people just don't want to be pitched. They don't want to be pitched your book. They don't want to be pitched your wares, your services. That's called advertising, or an advertorial, which is advertising masquerading as editorial. But it's boring and it's not helpful. So moving forward, and Judy, we can come back to this in a sec when we stop for Q&A. When you do get an opportunity to speak, be sure that you realize that no matter what question you're asked, every question leads back to you. Judy, tell me, did you notice how blue the sky was today? Yes, that reminds me so much of the weather in when I was a little girl in Hungary. We would have, I'm talking about Judy's book, which is, where is it? Oh, I think I took it upstairs. Oh no, it's right here.
Oh, thank you, Allison.
Girl Left Behind.
Thank you.
Such a good book. The way that she, just a little plug for Judy, the way that she brought to life this entire stressful, tension-filled situation growing up in totalitarian Hungary as a 5-year-old child, an unreliable narrator, and doing something so magical, having the government felt like another character that was omnipresent and looming. This is a masterful, masterful book. And thank you, Judy. Also, please note that while I'm talking to you, I am not holding this down here. This is just back to make sure you take assets the way that you need them. When you take photos with your book, you'll want it up here. You know why? Even if you're at an event, you know why? When photos get cropped, nobody wants anything boob level or below. They like this whole thing. Can you even see this? It's down by my waist. No, right up here. This is where the party is. So when you're taking pictures and you're doing the gripping grin with someone, you want the photo right here, just sitting right on your collarbone. Okay. A little tip about camera angles. Back to interviews. When you are interviewed, it doesn't matter what question you're asked. Hey, how do you like sports? Funny you should talk about that. I absolutely am fascinated with all events that bring families together. Let me tell you about my, what that means in today's time of family togetherness. Like, wow, you see how it does not matter what question I am asked, because I am going to talk about whatever the heck I'm going to talk about. Though, next step in interviews is always share a story. So somebody asks you a question, have 3 stories ready, real anecdotes that are just like you would tell a friend, not, oh, I worked with this client one time, but personal, so that we can visualize the story. And at the end of every interview or any speaking engagement, when someone says, oh, is there anything else you want to share? Your answer is always yes. Yes, absolutely. If it's, and you want that to be a statement, again, that might be recorded, another opportunity to give a perfect soundbite. And I'll give you an example of one of those in a minute. And an invitation to engage, not a bland invitation, but something specific, so that the audience knows what they're getting when they do reach out to you. Okay. Here are some examples of what that next step can be. So you've got to keep inviting people to a next step. They can go to your website, read past articles. What about upcoming and attend an upcoming event, watch you in a panel, go and connect with you on their social media platform of choice, subscribe to your newsletter, or contact you. People don't use this enough. Just drop me a line. I would love to hear about how XYZ issue is affecting you. This is fascinating to me. I'm a researcher. Or who does this really great? Jenny Pritchett, who wrote You Look Tired, an excruciatingly honest guide to new parenthood. Her website includes a contact me, but it's almost like drop me a line. I'd love to hear what you're doing. And it is so conversational. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a transaction of, dear Jenny, I'm writing you because I like your book and I think you're awesome, which is, of course, what I wrote, but kidding. Okay, next. Okay, so what can you do now? A website, even if it's one page, that's all you need. One page, your photo, a headline of what you are. Please do not put writer. We know you're writer, but you could put advocate, expert, or use some action language, helping people do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, website and social, and then build some content like we've talked about, and then you merchandise. Now we're going to talk about examples, so get ready. So this is about finding inspiration. So I've told you generically what you need to do. Now, rather than just sort of think about like, oh, I kind of get it. To me, I need an example. I need an example because I want to look at what someone else is doing, even if it's a brand or an event or a speaker or an author. I think, oh, I want to see what they're doing and how, and it gives me a sense of like what work goes into it, or how simple it could be. And I want you to find 2 examples of your inspirations so that you can be tracking and getting ideas for what you might do. It might be totally different, but and not, you might not even be an author, but it could be someone working in your field, or someone who's getting a lot of media coverage and has a lot of different pitches and angles, but they all seem to funnel back to the same topic. So let's talk about Aileen Weintraub, Kathy Beale, and Mina Dubin. Okay, and these are people I have never met and never talked to, but I know through the digital environment, and I have let them know that I was going to be talking about them tonight. So Aileen Weintraub is a prolific introvert. She's written a lot of books. She's a badass. And strangely, when I learned about her, it was not through any of the books that you're seeing right now. It was through this article, this HuffPost personal, this is what no one tells women about what happens to your body in your 40s. And this, it's just such eye candy, right? This photo with tiny toes and these symptoms, which to me are very familiar. And what I read the whole thing word for word. And at the end, what I found was a sticky bio. A sticky bio is something that gives me something else because I wasn't ready to be done with Aileen. So what I found was she's the author of We Got Game. And I was like, what? I read that. I have purchased that for people. My daughter loved this book. How did I not know this? And that she's been featured in all these other places. And her new book is coming out in 2022. And I can follow her on Twitter. It's like 5 next steps for me. So I followed one and I went back to, I think this is Twitter. And what I found was engaging, authentic, she's totally legit. And then what? And I just kept going down the rabbit hole to the Washington Post piece and then back to her website. And so on her website, I found an even bigger bio, which floored me again. And not just that, you know, her latest book was so meaningful to my daughter who turns 11 on November 22nd. And who's like a badass herself and would like to do all the sports. Her words, I would like to do all the sports. But that she has so many things to say, not just for middle grade, but also in terms of commentary. And so it made me think about all the ways where I could, you know, my mind as a marketer for authors, I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if she does this. I wonder if she does this. And let me show you what she does do. So here she had, then I learned through another Facebook group, but also through her bio, that her memoir is coming out. It's available for pre-order now. It's and boy, knock down a high-risk memoir. The term high risk, that immediately is a sticky. It makes me lean in, right? What is that? I reached out to Aileen. I think she asked for readers for her or reviews. I offered, and she sent me her marketing copy and a PDF of her book, which I have not read yet. So I'm giving you all of this detail and ideas based on simply her marketing copy and what I've shown you already. Okay, so this marketing copy, a laugh out loud memoir about a free-spirited, commitment-phobic Brooklyn girl who, after a whirlwind romance, finds herself living in a rickety farmhouse, pregnant and faced with 5 months of doctor-prescribed bed rest because of unusually large fibroids. First of all, hilarious, totally chuckle-worthy. And there's so many key terms just in this one packed sentence that we're going to talk about all the ways that Aileen could be speaking and marketing and showing up and delivering social commentary in different ways, way beyond, I hope I get press for this book. Okay, so here's what Aileen said about this blurb she got from Mandy Patinkin and Catherine Grody. Mandy Patinkin. So what she said is, don't ask, don't get. And that's what I say. That's what every marketer says. She said, I went from missing my deadline to getting 8 gorgeous blurbs. Take calculated risks. No one is going to do it for you. It's very true. But look what Mandy Patinkin said. I mean, has everyone seen The Princess Bride? When Inigo Montoya gives you a blurb that you just melt, right? a profound, honest memoir. It took us back to the best time of our lives, the beginning of making a family. Oh, seriously. And Aileen put together, using Canva, a testimonial, which I then took and zhuzhed a little bit, but essentially everyone could do this because Canva is free, and you know that what you're doing is going to get fans. So prepare for that, right? Now, I created another unsolicited, and Aileen has not complained, but another template for her using something that I pulled from her marketing copy. There are more blurbs out there. She could do so much more. So her mom says, every family has its secrets. So what? Doesn't every mother pack a suitcase full of brisket to bring to her children? This is a good story, but I'm still leaving the country for a few weeks when it comes out. Signed, Mrs. Weintraub, Aileen's mom. Freaking hilarious. I would like to have her mom over, and maybe she could teach me brisket, or how to make brisket, or how to package it in a suitcase, or what else she puts in her suitcase with the brisket. I'm not sure, but I'm intrigued. Now, from everything that Aileen has shared on her website, in the one page of marketing materials that she sent to me, I know that these are the topics that she says that she can talk about. Women, gender, sexuality, marriage, menopause, grief, pregnancy, motherhood, religion, Brooklyn, and unexpected paths to authenticity. What I've done is shared a little more. I'm going to get to that in a minute, because when I went through what else she was doing in terms of building social commentary and noticing what's happening in the world related to her current books, what I noticed was that she is collecting bylines. She is collecting bylines, and she's pitching them to a wide variety of media outlets. This is a piece about trailblazing athletes, very related to the books that I've shared before. This is on Hello Giggles, which is aimed at parents, right? But this one, same topic, right? Same storyline, totally different angle, totally different pitch, is for NBC News. This one is about, the headline, which she doesn't get to write, by the way, is the angle is about the Olympics. And let me go back. This one is not about the Olympics. It's a different story entirely, but good for her that she is telling these stories, and these articles were published 3 months apart. So you see, if you're always thinking, you always got something to say, you need to say it. Now, when we get to Aileen's opportunities, what I think that she could be doing, as far as her 3 to 6 month marketing plan, is look for unexpected duos. Who can she be paired with that could really be provocative or surprising or unexpected? What if she was hosting on a panel with a food critic or a marriage expert or doctors who are talking about fibroids? What if she focused her social media not just to be about her books, but about food that she grew up with, including brisket, because now I want her mom's brisket recipe, and I'm not kidding. I think that that's another piece of content that she could be providing. Recipes from a Brooklyn childhood is a story. How you get to that story is the angle, and the pitch is what you customize for the media outlet. So when we think of clickbait pitches, what I would consider for her is 7 favorite Brooklyn spots, or brisket and other comfort foods to resurrect, or one that's not about food, using bed rest to improve your life. Like what can you do on bed rest? This is not a new topic, or, and it affects many, many women every year. Let's talk about it. And Aileen's the perfect person to talk about it. And notice none of these are about her book, but we're kind of circling because her bio is always going to say, oh, and by the way, here's the link to her book. Okay. I want to talk about Cathy Beale, who is a 30-year food writer and restaurant reviewer, and also a badass. She recently wrote Eat, Drink, and Be Wary. She's asked for, she put it out there, anybody who can write a review. Reviews really help sell books. I said, I'll read it. And I devoured that thing, and no pun intended, devoured. And it brought back a lot of feelings for me. And so as I wrote my review, which, I'm prolific, I can write about anything, I realized this is really long. Maybe I should turn it into a byline for myself, which is what I did. Instead of just writing a review in Amazon, I turned that into something that serves Cathy and it serves me. And it brought up so much about me making cinnamon rolls with my Oma, my mom's mom, and then carved a hybrid personal essay book review together. I pitched it to 5 media outlets. One of them said yes in 24 hours. And so that's who got it. That's the Moms Don't Have Time to Write publication, which is run by Zibby Owens, who recently launched her own publishing company. So the fact that Cathy asked for a review doesn't mean that I can't get something for myself, because we always got to think about what we're going to leverage, right? Okay, and Cathy's ops are what I was considering is why does she not have an opportunity with the National Restaurants Association? She could be their keynote speaker at their next conference and get paid. Sodexo is something like, I used to run PR for Sodexo for a couple of years. Probably in the top 20 employers in the world, that's how many people work for Sodexo. Think of every time you go to a stadium or eat at a food court in a hospital or a campus, that's Sodexo or some other food service provider. They pay for speakers at their conferences. Or Cathy wrote about margaritas in her book. How about a tequila brand? These unexpected duos can really, pop media attention. Obviously on social, she should be talking about food and her recommendation of places you should go and tips for making whatever it is that the recipes that she loves, plus stories, the stories that she could be pitching. 3 restaurants that revived communities, or pop-up cafes are taking over, or life lessons from waiting tables. All of these sort of lend themselves to creating more buzz. And that's what we're talking about. Now, Mina Dubin is a writer and a teacher and a total badass. And she's available as well on Instagram and Twitter at Mina Dubin. She wrote an article in 2019, people, about the rage mothers don't talk about, dubbed Mom Rage. Because of this article that was, again, published 2.5 years ago, she is now writing a book called Mom Rage based on this article. But here's the other thing. People are still finding this article. It's hit a nerve. So this is an example of the interview is no place for original thought. Okay, when we're in an interview, we're not coming up with our answers. You got to be prepared. So, just like J-Lo doesn't go out there thinking like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe my cleavage. No, she knows exactly what she's going to talk about, and it's going to be eyes right here, right? So Mina recently came up to my attention because a newscaster in Boston reached out to her and asked for an interview based on the article that she wrote 2 years ago. I live in Boston. I saw this piece, and I got to tell you, it felt new because the newscaster felt like it was. She was like, I couldn't put my I didn't realize what it was until I read Mina's article, and then here's Mina totally nailing this interview, nailing it with such clarity, and going way beyond the moms yelling at their kids during the pandemic and what it really means. She said something that was so meaningful and put it on Instagram. I quoted that and shared it on social, and she turned what I wrote into a social post as well, which she should, because these are her words. We're screaming over Cheerios, but really we're screaming over the deep neglect of mothers in our society. No federally mandated maternity leave, no universal preschool, and a maternal death rate that's been steadily rising since 1987. Yeah, Mina, she is merchandising her results and rinse and repeat, right? So she's going back and really squeezing all the juice out of something that she wrote probably 2.5 years ago, and now writing the book about it that will be out. What did I say? 2023, which might be 2022. So here's what she's doing. She's rinsing and repeating. This conversation, this dialogue is a cultural dialogue. It's not done. And the term mom rage, she should be on the speaking circuit, for the love of Pete. So here are her opportunities. Unexpected duos. How about some sort of pairing with U.S. Representative Cori Bush, who was a disgruntled mom, and she was so fed up with her local legislator that she ran against him, lost, and then ran again and won. Good for you, Cori. But also, I can see Cori and Mina sitting on the same panel. I can also see Mina keynoting for the National Organization of Women, or doing a book signing with an empowerment personality. For sure, clickbait stories about 3 moms who did whatever, who stood up, or arranging parental leave that works, or something provocative and funny like scream therapy, how scream therapy helped me find my voice, and P.S. how it didn't. She could write any of those things. I don't know if these are meaningful to her or not, because we've never spoken, but these are opportunities to turn your topic into the next thing. And here's what I want you to know. For sure, you can do this. You can create your plan. You can assemble your assets. You can pitch or speak or engage or attend. You can really show up. You can for sure merchandise your results, because you're going to know how to do this. You're going to prepare for this. Preparing makes everything easy. And then adjust and repeat. Now, coming soon for me is create your writerly marketing map for 2022. That's coming soon. We'll kick that off pretty soon, and allow people to register. And of course, the book proposal that sells. If you are struggling with that, I have templates and tools. It's literally Mad Libs. It works. My clients always get requests for fulls and have conversations with agents, and usually on their first round. The other stuff that we have coming up in the creative nonfiction community are the compassionate critiques, where you bring a page, we break out into small breakout groups, you read a page and you get instant input from writers focused on making your work better. This works, it's intimate, it is not recorded, and it is simply something that we've seen really help. And also on December 12th, we're going to be chatting with satire and humor writer Lucy Frost, who had to pop off because she said she had a 6:30 meeting, but she is amazing. And her essay called Sleep Left Me for a Younger Woman was described as near effing perfect. Those are not my words. Near effing perfect on the writing class podcast. So join us then. Those are both at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, and all the things in between. And in case you missed it, our conversation with Sarah Baudette, who's the CEO of The Spun Yarn, we talked about how to get your beta readers, how to overcome the common challenges to publication, getting the best from beta readers and critique partners, and how they are different and when you should talk to one versus the other, avoiding common mistakes. And also you get a 10% off on any spun yarn service by using the code LANE21. And that's good until November 17th. Now, if you're feeling like I can do this, you should be feeling like Betty White, just sharing what she knows and knowing that you're going to be saving so many hours of frustration and ugly cries, because you can do this. You really can. So let me have it ready for questions. Put them in the chat or just raise your hand and I will unmute you. I see. Oh, and I did have some other questions coming in. Mariana asks, where do we ask for reviews? Well, Mariana, you can ask in the creative nonfiction community. You can put it out there, just put an original post and say, hey, if anybody is willing to review my book, it's coming out here. It's essentially, your log line so that people know what they're getting. If it's a memoir or, self-help or whatever, so that people can raise their hands, because everyone else is going to know that you can turn a review into a byline for you as well. So it's a win-win. And then way we're all supporting each other, right? So for sure, ask. And everybody knows that we're a community, so we're really supporting each other. So that's where you ask for reviews. What are examples of merchandise? Merchandise means if you get one thing, like you get a review, how else are you going to use it? And every asset that you get, if you get a review, that's an asset that you now have. What are you going to do with it? You're going to put it on your website. You're going to make a social post about it. You're going to post back to that person and say, I just want to thank, Kavita for reviewing my book. This was so meaningful and so personal. Then you're going to take, maybe that person writes something else. Maybe there's a partnership that might come about. You're going to find another way to use the thing that you have, because it all goes into your toolbox. So if you're sitting on 3 reviews, then each review has at least 3 jobs. Now you have 9 opportunities, not just 3. You get my drift? So we definitely, just think every testimonial, every client, if you are a service provider or a coach, every client who says, it's so meaningful working with you. You've changed my life. Merchandise that. You have to. And if you think, oh, it's overwhelming and I have so much, like book an hour. I'll help you. Book an hour, AllisonLane.com. We will go through your testimonials and edit them down, That's the way I work. We work fast, 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 and we get it done because we know that we have a plan to use whatever these assets are. Or if you say, and Narayani, I wanted to come back to your question about what are the dumb things. Please do not pay a professional photographer to follow you around for 4 hours to take your picture. Here's what you do if you need a really good headshot. You look at your local newspaper and you see who took those photos. And then you contact your local newspaper's photographer who is not on staff. They're a freelancer, and you book them for an hour and a half, which will probably cost you it could be $200, but you book them to take your photo outside under a tree or against a brick wall or something that has like a background that can be kind of blurry, or you bring 4 different tops, because remember, nobody needs to see your knees. And you replicate the poses that you see on your inspiration site. So if they're like, oh, people love this like thing, like, no, nobody needs this. But who has some great headshots? Ashley Renard. It's Ashley with it's not Ashley EY, it's ASHLIEGH, I think. Renard on Instagram. A bunch of others, I'll think of them. And I go through great headshots, great photos, great assets in the webinar called Websites for Writers. And we covered this, but the recording didn't work, so I'm going to re-record it and then I'll post it. So really great ones. So that's something, please don't, and also don't hire someone for $2,000 to build you a website or create your brand palette. Pick 3 colors that you see in your wardrobe that you like, and they don't have to match, and put them together, and then hire someone through Fiverr to make your website. It will cost you $100. They'll do it at night while you're sleeping, like the shoemaker's elves, and then it'll be done. But it'll only be done if you create your assets, you write your bio, and you give them all the ingredients that they need before you have them go do something, right? Okay, so let me go back to questions. Well, Rachel, this is not a question. Rachel, it does not. Allison, you are a genius at this marketing stuff. That's not a question, but I will take it. Thank you. Rachel's question is, so I want to start writing op-eds now that my book is out on submission. Do you have any class or article on writing them that you recommend? Yes, I do. I will be offering that. Yes, you should be writing op-eds. You should be writing commentary. You should. Writing op-eds fully is difficult. It is a risk because you're writing the whole thing. What you might want to do is write the story angles and the pitches, and those become the outline to then what the end result will look like. But I will be covering this in an upcoming class. Rachel also says, I saw one just now, New York Times, Sarah Novak, that was themed similarly to mine, and wow, the comments were brutal. Anti-deaf comments. People suck. Oh, the captions really picked that one up. People suck, Rachel. But brutal comments, good, because that means it's provocative. Provocative gets eyes, right? Worse is when no one comments and it's just crickets out there. Mariana, you have a question.
I just have a comment on what you just said. I read this whole little thing, I don't know where, about somebody who wrote YA novels and she got a brutal review about too many gay people or something. And she turned that review into a marketing opportunity, and she quoted it, and with a 1 star, you know, the 1 star among 5. And she got all the people who are supportive of LGBTQ, et cetera,
Yes.
to pay attention to her book. It was brilliant, I thought.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely what we need to do. And you've got to think that whoever that person was saw that as like, oh, you're going to try and injure me? That's just fuel for the flaying babies. And I'm going to take it and, you know, make it work.
Yeah.
And like stoke the fire. Good.
Yeah.
Narayani asks, hold on, I think I skipped one. Narayani asks, what do you think of hiring a PR person these days for a book or a biz or not? PR freelancers cost on average $3,000 a month for a 3 to 6 month minimum. So no, I don't think you need to do that. I think you will need to, that's why I do these, guys. Seriously, that's why I spend so much time doing this and turning what I know into workshops, which I had planned to have available today, but technology is not my strong suit. And so that's why Regina is now working for me. She is my assistant. She loves books too. But it is really early where she lives. And so we're working on it. Oh, Joanne, I see you too. Joanne's working with me too, so that the workshops are easier. So we provide some of the webinars so that you know, oh, there are options and I don't need to spend $9,000 hiring a PR person who is literally going to ask you, can you pull together your headshots and can you put together some pitches and what do you want to write about? I'm telling you what they're going to be asking you and you can prepare these in advance. If you want further help, yeah, but I'm going to have a workshop in December that covers all of that, not just talking, not me talking at you, but with templates and checklists and fill in the blanks, so that you don't have to wonder, and it'll be a group experience. And please don't spend $9,000 on a publicist.
Okay. Maybe better to hire an assistant after that workshop. Yeah. To help people send pitches and find more, whatever, outlets for submissions than whatever a publicist would do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you will learn in that workshop how to do all of those things. You'll learn how to not spread yourself too thin. I want to get through a couple. I want to stop for a second because Aileen Weintraub and Kathy Beale are both on the call. So I wanted to ask you to unmute to share a little. I'm just unmuting you. You both are unmuted, unleashed. If you can share, first of all, they did not know I was going to go so deep into their beeswax today. What did you think? Did I overstep?
No, I thought it was great. I thought it was, I want to thank you, first of all, for inviting me to this. This has been incredibly helpful and wonderful. And I think you've given me some really good ideas, some really good angles. You actually had said something a while ago, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I'm doing so much marketing for this book right now, and it feels so overwhelming, right? Like there's so many different ways to go about it and you had, and I was really focusing on getting reviews, which just felt awful. Like, I mean, obviously we need reviews for our books, but you said focus on creating content. And that changed everything for me because that's what I like to do, right? Like I like to pitch stories and I'm much better at coming up with ideas and pitching stories and writing articles and essays than I am writing, hey, can you read my book and then write about it? It doesn't feel as good. So So since then, that was, I think, 3 weeks ago, I've placed 3 articles. So thank you for, for that. So that's been amazing. And those are going to come out around my book release. So hopefully, you know, and then the hope is that, you know, that people read that, like my voice, and click on the bio, right? Like that's like, now whenever I read something I like, I always click on the bio now, right? I don't know that I always did that, but because I want to find out more about the author. I always notice an author now. I always look at the byline. I think that's important because someone put work into that, right? And they're building their platform, and I want to honor that. So I hope people do that for me, right?
Right, exactly. I think I remember now the question you said, how can I get more buzz for my books? And because of that, I developed this presentation.
Oh,
so
wow.
See, you were the catalyst for this conversation.
Wow, that's so wonderful to hear. I'm so glad.
Wow.
Thank you.
I feel like our paths keep crossing.
Right?
Yeah, I know. Like I have some other stuff we'll talk about later now that we're talking. The other thing about bios is that your bio, everyone's bio needs to be hyperlinked somewhere, and let someone know what they're going to get when they do connect with you. Mm-hmm. Ann Putnam has a great bio that says, meet me on Twitter for this and that, or on Instagram for, you know, food musings and pictures of my fat cat. And you just know where you're going to go. Like, mm-hmm. And it's more than just, you know, connect with me. But right. That is a really sticky bio because it pulls you in. Right. So that's something else that we can all learn from.
I'm going to go and change my byline now for Twitter and make it more spicy.
Right. Well, you know, people might not realize that you're writing commentary, but you're also writing empowering, you know, middle grade for girls. Mm-hmm. So what is that? What can we turn that into? You know, that's another opportunity that maybe we should talk offline about. Kathy, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. You had an experience that I have now had replicated so many times, and that is people start reading my book and they immediately send me text messages, email as they're reading it, commenting on the associations that are being triggered. And 2 things here. First off, I put something in binders, building platforms. Basically, what I meant was I will give anybody my book that wants to read it. And I use digital review copy as the term. And it seemed to be universally interpreted as, please review my book, which was fine. But that's really not what my intent was when I put it up there. It was like, I'll give it if you want it. So I loved, you know, when you came up with all of the associations that you had, which leads me to Aileen. I don't know if you would like to do a Facebook Live, maybe talking about food traditions or food associations or food memories or something. I have a background with fibroids myself. Wow. And I dealt with it in a very unusual way. You know, that's part of what kicked people off when they read my book. It's not just about cellular memories. It's not just about traditions. It's about a lot more than that. Actually, it's mostly about really outrageous things that people do. But everyone seems to just kick into the, oh, my mother made this, my grandmother made this. Oh, this is childhood food I think of. Oh, here's this thing I miss. I like to talk about the fact that Doritos and Wheat Thins don't exist anymore. They have a name, but the formulas are different. Anyway, I am serious. If I have a page with 5,000 people. I don't know if that would be of interest. So
yes, let's absolutely connect. That would be wonderful.
Is everyone else in their heads singing matchmaker, matchmaker? Let's make a match. Match me.
So yay. So I'll send you a Facebook friend request.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that sounds great.
I'll connect you both on email for the love of Pete.
Oh, okay, that will be easier.
That's great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah. The other thing that you might think about as a discussion point is the expectations that come with warm, fuzzy memories that are related to food. You know,
I actually addressed that, so yes.
Well, girl, I know you do. Yeah, and there are so many ways into that. There's, you know, there's like psychological expectations. There's on this call right now, there is a groundbreaking psychiatrist who, you know, has a different way of treating that kind of deep-seated trauma. Sorry, Dr. Michas, to put you on the spot. But my point is there are so many angles, right? There are so many ways. And all of you have that. You know, this group is just slaying our dragons and setting aside our minimized expectations and going big. So I'm glad to see that happening right now. And I will definitely connect you. Who else has questions or just something to share? Laurel.
Yes, I put mine in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It's so overdue that it's embarrassing, but you know, I've been on a journey the past year, but Allison and I worked on a book proposal and I started sending out queries and things keep changing in my life. And my platform, which I hadn't really thought about, but it was just what I was doing, kind of took precedence over my writing and it's expanded even more. And I did get a logo because I was working with a professional designer whose work I really loved. And I could share some of the things, but maybe I should say first, so I do mental health advocacy and I have a memoir called Too Marvelous for Words, a story of mania and hope. The subtitle keeps changing. And so I'm a speaker for the Mental Health Association of San Francisco, and I was hired by them, but to be on the California Warm Line, but I had to resign because that was too triggering. So I do speaking.
What's your question? Just because.
That's my question. Okay. I'd like to share these logos because the person that designed it said, because I got into dance and leading Zoom dance groups. And
I think the better, like more eyeballs on the logos is, why don't you put them let me share it group because we only have a minute left.
Okay, yeah, too much for this.
You know, I love talking about branding. Branding is it, but spending too much time.
We don't have time here.
Canva, you don't need some sort of like artist rendering.
But I've got it already.
I know you do. Just post it in the Facebook group and ask for input. Ask for specific input. Does everyone like this? Can you see it? Does it drive you away? Do you feel like, you know,
okay, we'll do.
Tell a story. Anybody else before we go? All right, you guys are awesome. Hopefully to see you in 2 weeks for the compassionate critiques. You guys are amazing. Please give me some vibes.